Hey everybody, today we are driving the 2021 Bronco Sport Big Bend trim, which sits just above the base model. This one is powered by a 1.5 liter 3-cylinder, making 181 horsepower, 190 pound-feet of torque. This is of course an EcoBoost turbocharged engine, so I'm excited to get it out on the road, see what it's like. I've never driven their 3-cylinder cars, so this will be a first for me. Before we get out on the road though, let's go check out the exterior. So this Bronco Sport Big Bend is listed on the First International Auto Group site for just under $17,000 US, has 85,000 miles on it, and like I said, it is a 2021. So we have these 5-spoke 18-inch wheels, which pair really well with the plastic cladding on the bottom, kind of giving it like an off-road stylish feel to it, especially with these roof racks on top. Very utilitarian. And then in the front, we do have a very similar grille to the full-size Bronco. And that's really where that styling and heritage comes from and where it translates down the model line to this Bronco Sport from that full-size Bronco. I will say this one isn't as nearly aggressive as its big brother, the full-size Bronco, but I still think you could do some mild off-roading in this thing, especially because it has full-time 4-wheel drive. And so in the back here, this is probably my least favorite angle on the Bronco Sport. I just don't really like how the rear end looks, especially up on this way, how it kind of like bulges out. It reminds me a little bit of the Land Rover Discovery in that way, very similar vibe for me. But one cool note here is we have this glass door that actually opens so you can drop your backpack like I did through the screen, through the window, and not have to open the full trunk door. But here is that full hatch. We do have a decent amount of trunk space. Those seats fold down. We don't have any sort of cargo nets, but we do have some tethers there that you could put some grocery bags on, or of course your child seat. And then on the right hand side, we have this little 12 volt back here. Not much else as far as usefulness. We do have down here a full size spare, which is really nice. So as for these back seats, I kind of have to squeeze behind myself. I'm 5'9". I'm not the tallest guy, but I would definitely want to be sitting in the front. I just think there's not a lot of usable room back here. If you have 4 adults that you're regularly carting around, this definitely is not the car for you. But what is nice is we have some adequate charging down here, a USB-C and a regular USB, and then we also have vents. We don't have a 3rd zone climate control. In fact, we only have a 1 zone in this Big Bend trim, but that's all right. It's a small enough vehicle that you could probably get this thing cool, no problem. We don't have a sunroof, which I'm a little disappointed about, but it really wouldn't work well with those roof racks anyways. And so we do have a 5th seat, but also, we have standard cup holders. As far as in the door cards, there are little pouches, but you can't fit much back there. Maybe just a small plastic water bottle. And then in the front behind these seats here, we do have some little zippers to put things in, which is nice. All right, so up in the front, let's go over some basic controls. We have all physical buttons for our HVAC, which is really nice. We have some charging down there, including a 12 volt. And then we also have a gear selector, which is a little dial. This is the same as my Mach-E, just looks a little different with the trim on the outside being rubber instead of a aluminum like mine. And then up here we do have a little shelf, which is funny. A nice spot to put your cell phone. You can throw it there. I have an iPhone 15 Pro Max, so they don't really get much bigger than that. So it's good to see that my phone can fit there. And then we also have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto standard in these Bronco Sports. So no need to worry about getting a specific trim to get CarPlay. As far as in front of us on our steering wheel here, we have standard volume controls. Some of the buttons are starting to wear, which is unfortunate. But the steering wheel still overall looks nice. It's just a standard plastic. So, it kind of feels like you're holding a Fisher-Price toy. I wish they wrapped this in a leather or a leatherette. I think that just goes a very long way. But anyways, we have cruise control on the left-hand side, a lane follow assist button, which is nice to have. And then on the right-hand side, we can control our menus here on the little part of the digital screen on your dashboard. We do still have analog gauges, so I feel like that's a nice sweet spot in this Bronco Sport. And then on the left-hand side, we have our, light controls. We have everything on automatic right now, so we don't really have to worry about that. And then on the left-hand side, we have our windows and, of course, the ability to control our mirrors, which come with blind spot monitoring. So these Bronco Sports have definitely gained a lot of interest over the last few years, because if someone is looking at Broncos and they realize, wow, brand new, they're like 60 grand. Oh, but I can get a Bronco Sport in the high 20s. I'll probably just do that. In this case, this Big Bend brand new original 2021 MSRP was $27,000 US. So, that's a pretty fairly low entry point when you consider the rising average cost of a brand new car, which in the United States is about $48,000 US. Just absolutely crazy. And then even though this thing has a turbo 3-cylinder, you can still put in regular gas. You don't have to worry about paying premium prices, especially with how expensive gas is right now. And as far as fuel economy, you're going to be averaging about 26 miles per gallon combined. So now let's chat about this interior. So I've driven the full-size Bronco, and now at this point, I've driven the Bronco Sport. And yes, there are a few trim levels above this one, including the Outer Banks, which is considered the most luxurious, the most street-oriented Bronco Sport. And the same goes with the Outer Banks full-size Bronco. But this one still comes with some nice features, including that Apple CarPlay and cruise control. And of course, you still have these nice cloth seats. They are full manual adjustment, which I'm a little disappointed about, especially because the back part of that adjustment has these little subtle increments that it's really actually kind of difficult to get yourself in a nice driver's position. But the seat goes low enough where I feel like I'm level out the window and I'm not looking too much over the hood. I understand that at $27,000 starting MSRP, it's kind of hard to fit some, luxurious materials in here, but it's just full plastic everywhere, including the top of the dashboard here and our, all our physical HVAC controls and whatnot. Everything is it just feels really cheap. And I think if they added a leather-wrapped steering wheel and just kind of called it a day, you'd at least have your hands on this for the most part, driving your attention away from the materials in the rest of the car. And so I think it would feel much more expensive in here if they did that. As far as driving characteristics, I would say that my steering is a little too light for my liking. It's pretty vague, but let's throw it in our sport mode and see what that's about. As far as drive modes, they're called GOAT modes in here, which is interesting. And so we have normal, sand, eco, sport, and slippery. My one critique is you can't rotate them. Like if I keep trying to go left here, I can't go back to sand. I have to basically go right and left. So that is kind of annoying. If I wanted to kind of rotate through the modes and pick that way, you can't really do that. So this thing is by no means fast, and that 1.5 liter 3-cylinder sounds very unrefined, but the 8-speed automatic does a good job at keeping you in the power band when you need it, and then just kind of letting off when you are done. We don't have any sort of way to physically control the gears ourselves. We don't have a gear selector down here. We just have a low mode. And we don't have paddle shifters, so that's kind of disappointing that you can't shift yourself. Especially if you're doing off-roading, it is kind of nice to be able to control your gears, keep yourself in like first or second when you're climbing something. I think that would be nice to have, but it's not a deal breaker for me, especially because a lot of these Bronco sports will probably never see dirt or rocks in their entire lives. So going over these harsher road imperfections, this thing is very softly sprung, and I'm very impressed by that. You don't really get any sort of harsh bumps in here, and the sound deadening is ample enough where you can have a conversation at low volume, no problem whatsoever. So one thing I think I should mention is that we have a chip in the windshield. And of course, First International Auto Group will get that sorted out for you, work out a deal with you, and, maybe they'll patch it, or maybe they'll just end up having the windshield replaced. I have no idea. But the reason why I bring it up is because these are the sound screen windshields right from Ford, right? And I have a 2024 Ford Mustang Mach-E that I've owned for less than 2 years, and I'm on my third sound screen windshield. So I'm really getting the impression that these windshields, they break with ease. Like if you get one sort of like rock at the right angle where it hits your windshield, it's probably just going to chip every time. From what I've seen a lot of people have, chips in their windshield, and then it webs out and you have to get it replaced. And out-of-pocket cost for a new Ford Mustang Mach-E windshield is $1,400. Whereas, this Bronco Sport's probably not that much, but I would definitely have glass insurance if you were going to own any sort of Ford with a sound screen windshield. As far as long-term reliability, I haven't heard of these Bronco Sports having any sort of issues. Obviously, with Ford in the last few years, they've had tons and tons of recalls, so keep an eye on that. If there are any outstanding recalls for your Bronco Sport or one that you're looking to buy, make sure those are addressed because, of course, the manufacturer has to come up with a solution for you, and, it's free of charge, so might as well get it done. I know my Mach-E has had 3 recalls in the less than 2 years that I have owned it. And it's not a first model year car either. So, this is, of course, a 2021 Bronco Sport. So this is a fairly early model. But, with just under 86,000 miles on the odometer and a First International Auto Group list price of $17,000, I feel like that's a fairly good deal. You get a nice, practical daily driver. It's pretty decent on the highway with the, ample amounts of sound deadening, good ride quality, Apple CarPlay. What else could you really want, right? And at 26 miles per gallon, you're going to be fairly fuel efficient, and I bet you could average pretty close to 30 if you're doing strictly highway miles as well. With that being said, at this point and this mile marker here, I am hitting 4,000 subscribers. So I just wanted to take a moment and thank you all for watching and supporting my channel. I greatly appreciate it. You're the reason I get to wake up and do what I love to do. So I appreciate you supporting me along that journey. Thank you all again. Please give this video a like and a comment if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one.